I'm joined now by the co-host of Pod Save America and Pod Save the World, Tommy Vietor. Tommy, thanks for joining me.
Hey, buddy. Good to see you.
So I want to talk about this Qatari jet situation, this massive violation of the emoluments clause, and just blatant breach of common sense.
What, doesn't seem on the up and up to you?
So I'm curious. You were the national security spokesman for President Obama. What does it mean to have Air Force One possibly come from a Gulf state in the Middle East? I mean, doesn't that pose some really obvious security implications for the President of the United States?
Yeah. I mean, it's a joke. It's a non-starter. Like, you can't have a foreign plane serve as Air Force One.
I mean, wouldn't they have to take every single panel off every inch of that plane?
Every panel, every bolt, every screw. Like, you'd be looking for listening devices, some other security. And even if you were like, oh, well, we trust the governor of Qatar, you can't trust that they weren't infiltrated by the Chinese or the Russians or some other bad actor. So it's absurd on its face. Like, this is Trump wanting to get gifted a plane that is not going to be Air Force One. It's going to be for his personal use when he leaves the White House. It would be given to his foundation. Like, give me a break.
Right. And so this is just some flimsy excuse, the veneer of some excuse to say, oh, it's not coming directly to me. It's going to the Department of Defense. And, of course, knowing full well that the Department of Defense will never be able to use some Qatari jet as Air Force One. And so really it's going to sit there and Donald Trump is just going to use it after he's out of office.
Yeah, and also Air Force One has a lot of specific capabilities when it comes to communications, airborne refueling, all these things that I don't believe this jet can actually do. So it would take years and years and years to retrofit, refurbish, and check for safety and for espionage reasons this plane. So it's just obviously it's never going to be in use as Air Force One.
And so there also is the fact that this is a blatant violation of the emoluments clause in the Constitution, which prohibits a president from being able to take any gifts from any prince, king, or foreign state. This is most of those things.
Check.
And so the problem here is that the Constitution isn't self-executing, and there's really no enforcement mechanism for the Constitution. The Constitution generally has been able to stand up by virtue of the fact that everybody had a shared collective agreement in wanting to preserve it, but now that's not really the case. Obviously, in deference to Trump, they're willing to cast aside different parts of it or create provisions of it out of whole cloth that didn't exist before, like the presidential immunity clause. But what happens in this instance where you have something that is so blatantly unconstitutional, and yet you have a Republican Party in Congress that's collectively too feckless to be able to stand up to him? You have a Department of Justice where Pam Bondi clearly isn't going to do anything. And so what comes next?
Yeah, former lobbyist for Qatar, Pam Bondi, registered foreign agent.
And also somebody who was perfectly content to take $25,000 from Donald Trump himself while she was determining whether or not she would prosecute Trump University for fraud as Florida Attorney General. So this is somebody who already has a predisposition to taking large sums of money that might pose some conflict or might be illegal, and yet she's perfectly content to do it.
Yeah, she's not an honest broker. I mean, I think we have to kind of hope regular politics kicks in. I mean, the good thing is there's been so much corruption happening in plain sight, but it just hasn't.
No pun intended.
But it hasn't gotten a lot of attention. Now we have this gift of a $400 million jet, and it's like
no pun intended.
this bright, shiny object, again, literally, that I think people hopefully it'll break through. People will learn about it. Yeah. You're seeing some Republicans being like, "This feels like a bridge too far, and it's wrong." So maybe
even the Trump whisperer Laura Loomer herself, Ben Shapiro has come out against this.
Yeah, Ben Shapiro, Laura Loomer, for a variety of reasons. Like Laura Loomer is just she's an Islamophobe, but you know.
No, I mean, we've seen that too with Ben Shapiro and Laura Loomer. Obviously, there are implications for. I don't know that they would be as willing to come out against a $400 million gift to Donald Trump if it came from Russia, for example. But it's, I think, an easier target for them to be able to get a gimme attack on Trump and preserve some degree of credibility because it's against Qatar, which is obviously an opponent of Israel.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think the question though everybody has to ask is, what is Qatar getting for this plane? They're not doing this out of the goodness of their heart.
But he said that they're just nice people. Nice people and doing it out of the goodness of their heart.
Yeah. So, I mean, remember, in the first Trump term, the Saudis, Emiratis, the Egyptians, maybe I think Bahrain, they announced a diplomatic and economic embargo against Qatar, which Trump giddily supported, and he called them state sponsors of terror. Fast forward to today, and he's taking this big gift from them. And I think you just have to wonder, okay, what is in it for the Qatari government? Is it getting more advanced artificial intelligence chips? Is it some sort of diplomatic favor? Like, what is it? I mean, all we know is it's not benefiting us. It's not benefiting the American people. It's Trump's getting a plane. The Qataris are getting something TBD, I guess.
Yeah. What would the narrative have been if President Obama had accepted a $400 lunch, much less a $400 million plane? I mean, if the situation was analogous, right? Let's say President Obama was in office and the Qataris tried to give President Obama a $400 million plane. Well, what would that? I mean, you as spokesman of the National Security Council, like you would have had to field a lot of those questions.
Yeah.
And so what would that have looked like?
I mean, it's just like it's almost inconceivable. It's like hard to even imagine, right?
Yeah.
Because the entire Democratic Party, like the Republicans would have lit themselves on fire. Like
Right.
Lindsey Graham would have like stormed the Capitol on his own. But every Democrat would have condemned it, and
Right.
rightly so. Like it would have been humiliating. It would have been the biggest story in the world for weeks and weeks and weeks until we caved and was probably impeached.
And so in terms of like the potency of what we're seeing right now, the benefit for the left is that this is really easy to understand. And we do get involved in some of these things where it's like, Trump's first impeachment was predicated on an extortion attempt against the Ukrainian government for military funding that was withheld in exchange for dirt on Trump's eventual Democratic opponent, Joe Biden. So it's a little bit convoluted,
Yeah.
a little bit dense.
Yeah.
This is like, these people are trying to give Donald Trump a $400 million gift, and he's saying, yeah, I'm cool with that. I want that. And it's right there in the Constitution. It's like one sentence that says that a president cannot accept gifts from any foreign state. So it's
Yeah.
really easy to understand. But in terms of the potency and the staying power of something like this, I mean, do you think that this is something that Democrats should use limited political capital attacking? Do you think that we should that it's just one more instance of Trump's overall corruption, but still we have to focus on tariffs and costs and the economy? How are you thinking about this from a political perspective?
I think we need to hammer this thing. I think like the narrative is you're flying Southwest and you can't land in Newark because the air traffic controllers don't work, or you can't land in D.C. because you
Yeah.
might hit a helicopter. And this guy's getting the gift of a $400 million plane.
Yeah.
It dovetails into a broader story of Trump's kids flying to these same Gulf countries and getting sweetheart real estate deals. There's the Trump coin crypto scams where, the 220 some odd biggest buyers of Trump's crypto get a private dinner with him. The top 25 buyers get a private VIP tour of the White House. I mean, that's not his house. That's our house, right? Like, I think we can drive a truck through this stuff. It's going to require messaging and effort and focus. And then hopefully when Democrats take back the House or the Senate, we can do some real investigations and dig deeper into all of this corruption and tell a broader story about how he's using the presidency to benefit himself and harming you, the voter.
And this is me coming from a place of deep cynicism and like jadedness.
No.
But it doesn't matter. Is there anybody in this country who may be gettable, may be persuadable, who doesn't already think that yes, Donald Trump is steeped in corruption, is looking to benefit himself, is it really deals in self-enrichment, who didn't already know that before, and who needs will it feel like we're just bringing sand to the beach by saying like Donald Trump is corrupt? Yeah, of course Donald Trump is corrupt. He's a billionaire that was elected from that, on day one he came down from his golden elevator in a penthouse apartment where everything was plated in gold. I mean, isn't that already understood who he is?
Yeah, I think the headwinds are they don't think he's corrupt. They think, oh, he's a billionaire. Why would he need more money? He doesn't care. Like they kind of buy that bullshit, even though like most billionaires are billionaires.
I was greedy before for myself. Now I'm going to be greedy for you.
Greedy for you.
Yeah.
Most billionaires are really rich because they always want more.
Right.
And that's sort of the thing about billionaires. So that's a headwind. I think another headwind.
Seems like a pretty central tenet in becoming a billionaire is like having hundreds of millions of dollars and thinking, I need more money.
I demand more.
I demand more money. That's how you go from like having $500 million, which most people would presume is enough by any common understanding of the word, and you end up with $1 billion. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be tough. I think there's all politicians are corrupt. How is this any different sort of cynicism?
Yeah.
And there's also a piece of it that's like voters think, well, yeah, Trump's corrupt, but at least he's honest about being corrupt, because he's just sort of like so public about this stuff.
Yeah.
So all of that is out there and it's real. It'll be a challenge, but I do think like gifting someone a $400 million plane helps us a lot here. And I do think the crypto stuff is really new and gross and dangerous. And we have to message it. And like, no, we're never going to peel back the 40% of the country that loves Trump. They're ride or die with him.
Right.
They're January 6th. They still have favorable approval of him. But there's like 5, 10, 15% of the country who are real swing voters. Either they're deciding to vote for one candidate or the other, or they're deciding to stay home or not. And like, that's how you win elections.
And I think your point about the fact that this is somebody who is accepting a $400 million gift at the same time that even the Secretary of Transportation himself has just said that his wife was about to fly out of Newark and she couldn't. Like, seems like something you'd want to talk to your husband about.
Yeah, buddy.
And then at the same time, he's also telling American kids that they can't have dolls for Christmas at the same time that he's taking a gift that's worth $400 million.
Yeah, it'd be cool if Sean Duffy knew how to do his job and then did his job.
Yeah.
And maybe figured out his wife's flight situation that way. But you're right, yeah. Trump was just like days ago telling us that tariffs had to go into place and we had to endure some economic hardship because made up bullshit. And now he's just accepting like these lavish gifts from Gulf autocrats. I mean, by the way, he's going to 3 monarchies. There's not a democracy on this trip. There's not like a traditional ally on this trip. It's the Saudis, Emiratis, and Qatar. And the thing they all have in common is they are used to doing business in a way where you pay off the other side or their kids or Jared Kushner or whoever it might be. And so that's the story of this trip.
Let's finish off with this, to that exact point. Does this change the global order that we've been used to, this post-World War II global order where the U.S. is aligned with other democracies in the world? I mean, now we are doing business by fiat with the executive, where whoever gives him the biggest gift, whoever spends the most millions of dollars, tens, hundreds of millions of dollars on Donald Trump himself gets favorable, whatever it may be, favorable trade terms, favorable, deal, whatever it may be. Like that's the problem. We don't even know what it is. But does this change things? And is there a world in which we can't go back to how it was prior?
Yeah, I think it changes things a lot. I mean, let's just imagine you were like a mid-sized country leader during the Biden administration after the war in Ukraine started. You knew that Joe Biden's top foreign policy priority was to build support for Ukraine, whether it was weapon shipments or diplomatic or support or economic support, right? So like you knew you could curry favor with Joe Biden by supporting that policy. Right. Every country around the world, the Indians, the Chinese, the Russians, whoever, know that you can curry favor with Donald Trump and get what you want by paying him off or paying his kids off or paying Jared Kushner off. So it's completely distorting foreign policy. Like Steve Witkoff, Trump's real estate buddy turned golf buddy turned like global emissary for all negotiations, is going to Russia, meeting with Vladimir Putin, not bringing any professional staff, and not even bringing his own interpreter. What are they talking about? You know what Steve Witkoff's son does? He's one of the founders of World Liberty Financial, the Trump crypto company. Like, This is a bad setup. Yeah. This is some Banana Republic shit. And like, can we go back? I hope so. But like, it's going to take some real effort. It's going to take lobbying and ethics reform. It's going to take actual crypto regulations that don't allow the president of the United States to release his own cryptocurrency. Like, it's going to take some work.
Right. And an appetite among people who've taken up collective residence in Donald Trump's colon to actually sign off on some of this stuff so that it sticks.
That'd be nice.
With that said, I know that you've been covering this extensively on Pod Save the World. You have a YouTube channel, Pod Save the World. Highly recommend for anybody who's watching right now. If you are not yet subscribed to Pod Save the World's YouTube channel, go ahead and sign up. I'll put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. If you're listening on the podcast, I'll put it in the show notes. Tommy, appreciate your time.
Great to see you.